That's the first question.
So how do you feel? Do you feel like you
It's a pleasure being here. It's
gain some ground?
honestly, I love sharing ideas, and whether we agree or disagree with those ideas, it is really a privilege to stand in front of the people of Utah and offer them my services. That's pretty much, Glenn, what I am, is just me. And I know I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I do know that I love the people of Utah. I want to serve them, and that's why I'm here doing this very interesting thing, and that is presenting myself as I am to the people of Utah.
The apology to the pastor came up today. Clarify where you stand on that, and was it a mistake?
I am a faithful member of the LDS Church, and I love my faith. I've been a member for my whole life and actually have served as a missionary for the church. In that service, there are many people that I met who thought that I was a member of a cult. They thought that I was going to hell as a result of my faith. And that is something that did not dissuade me from building relationships with them and trying to work with them. And even if we disagreed at some point where they weren't interested in joining the church, that didn't matter to me. We could still respect each other as individuals. And I believe that as to this Jeffress thing, it's an issue that I hold firmly to my faith, but I also hold firmly to I build bridges, I don't burn them down. I'm interested in working with people, even if we have disparate viewpoints, especially in the religious context.
Representative Kennedy, that was the most agreement I think I've ever heard at a debate between two candidates. What is the primary difference between you and Governor Rahm?
It's, to me, a fundamental difference in the form of I love Utah, I've lived here, I've worked here, I've raised my family here, and I'm privileged to know the people, not just in the medical office where I practice, but as a result of my visits to the hospital and the nursing home, and in the living rooms of the good people of Utah. I love the people of Utah. I know their hearts and their minds. I know their concerns for the future, and I know that they need a firm representative who deeply understands the state of Utah, somebody who is willing to stand up for Utah values and Utah principles, and somebody that knows them thoroughly. My service as a doctor, my service as a state legislator allow me to know on a granular level the individuals and their issues, but on the state level, because I've worked together with the state senators, the representatives, as well as the governor, I've had a more deep understanding of the issues that Utah confronts and how Washington, D.C. needs to get out of the way of this great state. Frankly, I think if Washington, D.C. worked the way the state of Utah worked, we would all be better in this country than as it is.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is your argument that Governor Romney just doesn't understand Utah?
All I'd say is I am who I am. I'm a doctor, he's not. I'm a state legislator, he's not. I've lived here and raised my family here, and I'm privileged to serve the people here. As to the distinction between him and me, that's just something that the people will have to decide for themselves.
You know, the president came up a few times tonight. I was wondering, did you vote for him in 2016, and how do you feel like he's doing?
I support the president. I think he's done an outstanding job. It's been a little over a year that he's done his work, and I just think it's so impressive to watch what he has done. So I stand with the president. I'm willing to support him. That is another distinction in this race, is the idea of if there are disagreements, do we need to go public with those? Do we need to do those in the social media, or could we discuss that as private individuals and work through those disagreements? So I'm in favor of supporting the president. If I disagree, then I will do so respectfully.
Did you vote for him in 2016?
I wrote in Ted Cruz as my vote. So I wasn't sure, like many Utahns, where the president stood. I wasn't sure who he was going to be, but I stand firmly with the president and expect in the next election he's going to win this state in a landslide. He's had a lot of converts in this state as a result of the work that he's done.
You brought up the assault rifle issue in Massachusetts. He responded to you by saying it was two sides coming together, collaborating. You didn't have a chance to respond to that. What's your response to how he answered that?
I'm all for collaboration of people working together from different viewpoints, but the Second Amendment is clear, and I've stood firm for the Second Amendment during my legislative career, and I think it's really important that we don't neuter or reduce the potency of our constitutional amendments, that when it comes to Second Amendment rights, I believe law-abiding citizens should have full access to those.
So what do you say to the students of Parkland who don't think that your policy is enough?
I say to them that they're already working on state-based solutions, and I applaud them for working on those. These tragedies are universally understood. We cannot continue to have such tragedies perpetrated on our good people, particularly our vulnerable students in the schools. But nicely, what you're asking about is so reflective of the fact that they're working on those things in Florida, just as they should. As the U.S. Senator, I am not invested in federal government intervention in this. We need community and local solutions for these issues where they're flexible and accountable and actually going to make a difference in this important area.
How do you think your apology to Pastor Jeffress is playing with voters here in Utah?
I'm a firm defender of the faith, and apparently I've had a few of them contact me, and I'm happy to have them contact me as well. I love my faith, and I will stand firmly in my faith, and I'm about building bridges. And as to the public and how they'll take that, I would say that this campaign is far greater, far more important than just that issue. And as to anybody that disagrees with me, I'm more than happy to talk to them personally about that disagreement.
You saw the latest Utah policy poll that puts you back about 43 points. With 4 weeks left, one, do you think you're down that far? And two, how do you close that kind of a gap in 4 weeks?
It's interesting, Glenn, that you say that, because for me, we have talked to thousands of people throughout this state, and that poll is not reflective of the data that we've gathered in visiting with these people. And so I take the poll as maybe a practice test. Look, I'm a student. I've been in classes for thousands upon thousands of hours, and everything seems to relate to school for me. Is if I take a practice test and it suggests that I have deficits, then fine. I just replace those deficits with strengths and study and work and move forward so that when the final exam comes, then I'm ready for that. So we are more than happy to take that data and use it to increase our potency. But I would also say that policy, Utah policy survey that was done, it was done before we had implemented many of our mailers as well as our commercials, and so I don't think it's reflective of current attitudes, but we certainly seek to get our message out there with the good people of Utah.
Romney said recently that he might not point to the president as an example for his grandchildren. What about you for your children and grandchildren, if you have them?
Yeah, I do have 3 grandchildren, one that's coming next month, and I love my children and grandchildren. I would say that the President of the United States, I would never hold that individual up as necessarily somebody I would point to my children and say you should and can and want to be like them. If my children want to do that, so be it. But the reality is I would love them to be able to look to me as the example of what a father should be and how I treat and regard them, treat them with kindness and respect, help them to grow up. As to our president, I would point to the president and show my children this is how conservative values look, and this is how you work with people to get things done in this complicated world of ours. So as to that, I suppose, would I ask the president to babysit my children or not? He's a little busy for that, so I wouldn't even bother asking him. But I would say on that regard that I believe it's most important that our children have heroes that are a little closer to them than the White House, and that should be their own parents.
Thank you very much.
Are we done?
I think so.
Excellent. Thank you.